Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something, well, pretty fascinating.
Yeah, huh.
What is it that really attracts women?
Huh.
You brought David DeAngelo's work to our attention, specifically his piece on the 8 personality types that naturally attract women.
That's right.
So our mission today really is to explore DeAngelo's framework, to kind of get under the hood of the principles he's talking about regarding attraction.
Exactly. And we should be clear, this isn't about us saying this is right or this is wrong. It's an exploration of his viewpoint.
Right. We're looking at his model,
Yeah.
how he thinks it works. He seems to draw on observations about, women relationships, maybe even bits of evolution and psychology.
He definitely centers it all around this idea that there are fundamental patterns in attraction.
And his core concept, it seems, is that women have these unconscious, he calls them mental programs.
Yeah, mental programs.
Mm.
And different male personality types supposedly trigger these programs.
Like flicking a switch, almost.
Yeah.
Sending out signals that get these inherent responses.
And he splits these personalities into 2 big buckets, the lover and the provider.
Okay, lover and provider. And the difference in attraction is key here, isn't it?
He suggests it is. The lover types, he argues, tend to spark this immediate, often sexual kind of attraction.
Okay, immediate. Whereas the provider types, they trigger something different.
According to DeAngelo, yes. With providers, it's more about seeing, commitment, long-term reliability before that same kind of sexual connection really clicks.
So like 2 different roads to maybe a similar destination eventually.
You could put it that way. And he also talks about successful versus unsuccessful types in terms of attracting women.
Right, and we're focusing on the successful ones for this deep dive. The 8 he thinks work.
Precisely. He does mention others, the hippie, nerd, redneck, stuff like that, as unsuccessful. But yeah, our focus is on the 8 he highlights as attractive.
Got it. So just to reiterate, we're presenting DeAngelo's perspective here impartially. His model, his observations.
Exactly. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with the lover personalities. He lists 4 of these. Bad boy, adventurer, seducer, and artist.
That's the lineup. These are the ones he thinks tap into that more immediate kind of primal attraction. Shall we start with the bad boy?
Yeah, let's. The bad boy. Sounds like danger, thrill, a bit of toughness.
That's the vibe. He describes someone who sort of embodies this, maybe how they dress, how they act, drinking, smoking, tattoos perhaps.
And he gives examples like Tommy Lee, Mickey Rourke, even bikers, or Sammy the Bull. Quite a range.
It is. And the core appeal, as DeAngelo sees it, is this, what does he call it? An addictive emotional rush.
Ah, okay. The rush from being around perceived danger.
Sort of, that feeling that anything could happen. Creates a unique excitement, he suggests. And he notes these types often end up controlling the relationship.
Because of that unpredictability, that sort of rebellious edge.
That seems to be the idea, that magnetic pull of the unpredictable.
But he does add a warning, right? Like, don't actually be a criminal.
Oh, definitely. He cautions against the extreme version, the actual illegal stuff. The pitfalls there are obvious.
Sure.
But interestingly, he makes a pretty bold claim that this type, the bad boy, has the most magnetic attraction for women.
Wow, okay. Because of that intense emotional hit.
That seems to be his argument, yeah.
All right, let's move to the next lover type, the adventurer. This sounds maybe less dangerous, more fun.
Yeah, less edgy, perhaps. More about excitement through experiences, surfing, skiing, racing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, James Bond are his examples.
So the thrill is still there, but it's channeled differently.
Exactly. Through doing exciting things, not necessarily defying rules.
Mm.
He thinks the appeal is similar to the bad boy in a way. The fast life, cool places, the adventure itself, fearless, optimistic, always on to the next thing.
And the storytelling, he mentions they exaggerate a bit.
Right. Embellish the tales, make them sound even more exciting, always looking forward. And this idea of fast toys and fast women.
Yeah, what about that? He suggests women kind of accept that adventures might not be exclusive.
Unconsciously, yes. That's his take. Like there's an implicit understanding that monogamy might not be the main goal for this guy. And he also highlights their optimism as a big draw. And, similar to the bad boy, he sees them as being in control, hard to tame.
And maybe prone to infidelity. He uses Hugh Hefner as an example there.
He does mention that possibility, yes. It fits that untamable narrative he builds.
Okay. Different kind of excitement, but still that high energy, maybe shorter term feel. What about the seducer?
Oh, the seducer. This one sounds very deliberate. Someone who really gets women, is sensual, makes them feel desired.
He even says they might have been women in past lives, jokingly.
He does throw that in there, yeah.
Yeah.
But the core idea is this intense focus on the woman, understanding her needs, her desires.
So less about external thrills, more about the internal connection.
Exactly. He even describes them as sometimes being a bit submissive in the moment, focused on her pleasure, very attentive. Don Juan DeMarco, the Johnny Depp character, is his example.
That magnetic romantic angle makes sense. But what's the catch, according to DeAngelo?
The catch, as he frames it, is that they tend to, well, leave after sex. Not really the long-haul types.
Ah, so the intensity is maybe fleeting?
That's the trade-off he presents. The connection is powerful, but maybe not built to last.
Okay.
They might reappear, but commitment isn't the main feature.
Got it. Okay, last one in the lover group. The artist. Musician, poet.
Right. Someone who moves emotions, seems enigmatic, complex, sees the world differently, maybe a bit disorganized, not great with time. Barry White, Kurt Cobain are implied examples.
And the attraction there, what's the hook?
DeAngelo figures it's about the emotional depth, the mystery. He thinks women often like a challenge, like nurturing.
Ah, okay.
And they connect with the artist's unique way of seeing things, maybe better than other guys do. And the artist needs that understanding.
It's like a mutual connection on that deeper emotional level.
That seems to be the idea. But again, there's a potential downside, he points out.
Which is?
He notes they often struggle with self-control, maybe controlling their partners too, and could even have some unhealthy personality traits.
Right, like the focus on art and emotion might make other parts of life unstable.
That's the potential issue he raises. So yeah, those are the 4 lover types, according to DeAngelo.
Okay. Bad boy, adventurer, seducer, artist. Now let's switch gears to the provider personalities, the ones supposedly aimed more at long-term stuff.
Exactly. And again, there are 4. Successful guy, daddy, regular guy, and the ass-kissing guy.
Let's start with the successful guy. Sounds pretty self-explanatory, provides a good lifestyle, stability, money, nice car, house, dinners, gifts.
You nailed it. Doctors, lawyers, stockbrokers.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of roles he implies, the core appeal. Stability.
The security blanket idea he mentioned.
Precisely. He argues that ultimately this is what most women are looking for, that comfort and security. And these guys are usually dominant, using their leadership skills in the relationship too.
Okay. But he adds a couple of, well, less flattering notes here. Something about prostitutes.
Yeah, he speculates, and it is speculation, that this type might be more likely to use them. Yeah, and he also warns guys against trying to fake this image.
Why's that?
He thinks it triggers that hold off on sex response from women if it seems forced early on, and it can obviously drain your wallet trying to keep up appearances.
Right. And he connects this to The Rules, that book.
He does, implying women are sort of taught how to identify and trap this successful guy type. It's a very transactional view.
Definitely sounds pragmatic. Okay, next, provider. The daddy, this one, sounds tricky. Tells her what to do, controlling, treats her like a little girl.
Yeah, it's a specific dynamic.
What's the supposed attraction? I mean, that sounds off-putting to many.
DeAngelo's theory is that some women, particularly maybe attractive, powerful women, actually like being controlled in that way.
Really?
He suggests they might dislike men who are too deferential, too easily led, and that there's a kind of sexual energy in that control dynamic for them. He points to that book, Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, about dominant submission.
Huh. Okay. It's a niche appeal, maybe.
Yeah.
But he does warn about this type going too far, right? Stalking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He flags the danger zone, stresses not crossing into unhealthy or illegal behavior. It's presented as an attractive type for some, but with clear potential problems.
Right. Okay. Then we have the regular guy.
Ah, the regular guy. Down to earth, loyal, stable, works hard. Maybe he was a bit wilder when younger, but now settled. Typical family guy.
And DeAngelo seems a bit sorry for him. Says he doesn't get enough credit, or women.
That's his assessment, yeah. He thinks the regular guy offers great qualities. Loyalty, stability are huge, but maybe lacks that immediate excitement or dominant edge.
And what happens in those relationships, according to him?
He observes that the woman often ends up taking charge, perhaps because the guy isn't assertive enough in his view.
So what's DeAngelo's advice for the regular guy? Spice things up.
Pretty much. Add elements of the adventurer, maybe the seducer, dress better, be more interesting, more engaging. Even plugs his own book there.
Right. Blend some lover traits into the provider base.
Essentially, yeah. Make the whole package more appealing.
Okay, last one. The ass-kissing guy. Or her boy, as he calls him.
Yeah, this one. DeAngelo isn't a fan.
Describes him as always saying, okay, honey, I'm sorry, Gives her whatever she wants, submissive body language, avoids eye contact, passive-aggressive even.
That's the picture he paints. Very agreeable, almost to a fault.
And is there any appeal here?
Well, he suggests that women who are very dominant and controlling themselves might actually end up with this type, maybe even marry them.
But he doesn't think it's a good situation.
No, he frames it as generally unhappy, a passive, sort of disempowered way to live.
And the advice is similar to the regular guy. Add some adventure or some daddy.
Exactly the same advice. Shift away from being overly submissive, bring on some fun, excitement, assertiveness.
Okay, so that covers all 8 of DeAngelo's successful types. Phew.
It's quite a framework.
And he does stress that most women probably respond to all of these to some extent, right? It's not like they only like one type.
That's a really important nuance he includes. It's about tendencies, primary triggers, not rigid boxes. Different aspects might appeal to different women or even the same woman at different times.
Yeah, context matters. And he pushes the listener to think about their own goals, short-term fun or long-term commitment.
Right, because that influences which road lover or provider you might already be on, maybe without realizing it.
It's presented as almost strategic. Understanding your own tendencies affects the attraction you create.
That's the implication. Knowing the landscape helps you navigate it, according to his model.
And he had that interesting final point about starting as a lover, potentially allowing a switch to provider later.
Yeah, his logic seems to be ignite that initial spark with lover traits, get the connection going.
And then you can bring in the provider stuff, the stability for the long haul.
That seems to be the idea. Build on the initial attraction.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've done a deep dive today into David DeAngelo's The 8 Personality Types That Naturally Attract Women.
We've looked at his 2 main categories, lover, that's the bad boy, adventurer, seducer, artist for that immediate spark.
And provider, the successful guy, daddy, regular guy, and ass-kissing guy, focused more on that need for loyalty and long-term security as he sees it.
And again, important to keep in mind, this has all been about exploring DeAngelo's framework, his perspective on how attraction works.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about these 8 types and maybe your own relationship goals. Which aspects kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, and why might that be? How does this framework stack up against, what you see in relationships around you? Does it match? Does it challenge your observations?
It's definitely food for thought. Maybe use this as a lens to observe things. Think critically about relationship dynamics.
And ultimately draw your own conclusions about attraction. It's complex stuff.